Hello and welcome to part 4 of AP social media guidelines that we are also using for our very own Moorpark Reporter. So AP journalists have a list of social media guidelines that are required for all AP staff. The Moorpark Reporter, as well as many other media affiliates and publications, also adhere to these. So we're going to go over a couple of social media guidelines. This is in response to personal and professional accounts, anything that can be found out of your branding image if you are a reporter for a certain publication. So accounts. All staffers are required to have social media accounts in order to actively and effectively gather news and share links to the publication's published work. It is recommended to have one social media account per network. Usernames must include the affiliation with publication. For example, at AP for Associated Press in the username, or at MR for Moorpark Reporter. Political affiliations are prohibited in professional accounts. Opinion. All reporters must be aware that opinions they express may damage the reputation of their publication as an unbiased source of news. All reporters must refrain from declaring their views on contentious public issues in any public forum and must not take part in any organized action in support of causes or movements. That is your call as a journalist, to be unbiased and a neutral observer. Comments on sports matters and entertainment are okay as long as there is no trash talking about anyone, as some of these teams, players, or celebrities could potentially be a future or current source of one of your colleagues or your own. Okay, so let's talk about privacy. Reporters must be mindful that any opinions or personal information they disclose about themselves or colleagues may be linked to the publication name, even if personal pages are restricted. Always customize your privacy settings on all social media platforms, but also be aware that leaks are inevitable. 4. Friending and following. Friending and liking causes and candidates may create a perception among people unfamiliar with the protocol of social networks that the reporter's affiliations lean a certain way. And then so does that of the publication. To avoid this, it's best to follow and like and share with both sides of the issue and present oneself as a neutral, level-headed counterpart. So if you're following a Democratic Republican candidate, then make sure you're also following a Republican as well as an independent, so that you look like you are following platforms from all over as a neutral observer. 5. Publishing. All reporters will want to link their published content in all its formats to as many social media platforms as possible. Reporters are also encouraged to link their publications. They are also encouraged to link content from other media organizations unless it reflects poorly on their publication's reputation or their own professional reputation. Unconfirmed news tips and rumors should never be shared on professional sites. It will discredit the reporter and the reporter's publication. Think of the Kobe Bryant crash and how TMZ was sharing that all 4 of his children were in the helicopter as a tweet about the crash, and that was incorrect. So you want to make sure that reporters should plan on live tweeting at all news events if that's their typical beat or department, but they should always refrain from leaking exclusive content that would help launch a breaking news story without first reporting on it. So you want to make sure that you're covering live events if you're there. You want to make sure that if you're at a breaking news scene that you're covering it and you're tweeting live, but you want to make sure that you have factual information, okay? Retweets. So these should not be written in a way that looks like you're expressing a personal opinion on the issues of the day. A retweet without comment of your own can easily be seen as a sign of approval of what you're saying or what you're relaying. So an example that AP puts forth is RT at Jones campaign. Smith's policies would destroy our schools. Or retweet at Daily European. At last, a Euro plan that works. So these are coming from a certain side of the argument, so to say. So Jones campaign Twitter handle is saying that Smith's policies would destroy their schools. So you want to make sure that you have a comment added on with it if you're going to retweet. For instance, you would say, you would add in, according to this major newspaper at Jones campaign, Smith's policies would destroy schools. Okay, so you're giving attribution to the tweet that you're retweeting. Showcasing work. Reporters will wish and should share their published work. It is important that when doing this, that you have a professional website to showcase the work on. with your branding, image, and bio, as well as offering your work with a link to its original publication, drawing it back to the publication that you worked for. Okay? So, let's move on to sourcing. Sources discovered on social media should be vetted in the same way as those found by any other means. If a source you encounter on a social media network claims to be an official from a company, organization, or government agency, call the place of business to confirm the identity just as you would if a source called on the phone. You must never simply lift quotes or videos from social media just using material without any backup. Most social media sites offer a way to send a message to the user. Use this to establish direct contact over email by phone so you can get a more detailed information about the source. 9 is interaction. Refrain from commenting or liking on your publication's official posts, as those are reserved for public and citizen reactions. Okay, so you don't want to be responding to your own publication story. We leave that for the common public. 10 corrections. When correcting tweets, you use this format. Correction. U.S. Embassy in Nigeria says bombings could happen this week at a luxury hotel in Abuja. Previously, we incorrectly said Lagos. So you want to link the article after that. You want to include what is correct, and then in parentheses include what you said wrong, and then link the article. When you delete tweets from Twitter, you have to also note that although the tweet will be deleted, if it was retweeted or posted elsewhere, it will still remain. Okay, let's move on to how you protect yourself. So digital security for journalists. One, it was recently reported that a 17-year-old launched the biggest breach Twitter has ever had on none other than, like we talked about earlier, President Obama's account and Bill Gates. It should be a constant reminder that no one is 100% protected from hackers. The goal then should be to, at the very least, complicate their efforts, if not stop them. Okay? So number 1 is you want to have a secure password. You want to always lock your iPhone with a complex 8-digit code. Facial and thumbprints can be used under coercion and are advised against by the AP. You want to use a different set of numbers and letters for each account, ideally. So you can consider online password managers such as 1Password or Dashlane. 1Password is a fantastic choice for storing and managing passwords. It's easy to use and it has everything you need in a password manager. The pricing starts at about $2.99 a month. There's also Dashlane, which is has several restrictions for its free users, and then it also has more premium packages. But it is good for someone if you want to use share passwords with just one person. So if you're just sharing your own passwords and you just want someone to kind of manage it, then it's super doable. Okay, let's talk about Wi-Fi networks and unsecured ones. So you want to be aware of any open Wi-Fi networks. If you're sitting at a coffee shop, hotel, or airport, please note they are not secure. So anybody could be reading your communications, copying the passwords you enter into the sites you visit, and so forth. So if you want to protect your information, you want to try using VPN software. This is a virtual private network that it's type an encrypted tunnel to a safe computing environment, such as your organization's intranet. This will kind of keep it on lockdown what you are using on an open Wi-Fi. You also want to be aware of starting sensitive work on a borrowed computer, as you can't vouch for it. Phones are harder to hack, but mobile carriers have full access to your connections and your location, even when you're not making calls. If you're concerned about being heard, purchase a Faraday pouch, which I have linked up here. This to place your phone in, which will block incoming and outgoing signals. Turning off your phone does not help. Okay. Number 3 is make sure that make note that email offers the weakest form of communicative security. For a max security of your identity, you should use a virtual private network or a VPN, or try the Onion router to hide your IP address, location, and erase online footprints. Phishing is a tactic of tricking people into divulging their passwords or allowing malicious software on their phone or computer. A common phishing tactic, with which phishing is as PHISHING tactic, is to send an email or a text message, often forged to look like a legitimate communication from someone you trust, and offering a link to click. Clicking it would take you to a counterfeit website, perhaps one that resembles your bank account and which will harvest your password, even install software that lets hackers take control of your device. So you want to obviously avoid this. To avoid this, never open a file or link from an unknown source and read the website address in the link, checking for anything that stands out as suspicious. Okay, number 5, let's talk about data storage. Cloud storage. So data retention policies exist for most publications, always asking questions like, if storing data on cloud, you want to ask if it is encrypted data in transit and in rest. So that's great if you can store something that's encrypted when your computers or your phone's at rest, but in transit, does it become, is it not encrypted so that it's easy to be hacked? You just want to make sure that you have those questions down with whatever cloud storage you're using. If it's not, then you want to consider switching to a provider that will protect data that encrypts files and folders before they are saved to the cloud. So Facebook and Google both provide online services, but they also will turn over any cloud stored data to authorities when they are served with a subpoena. This can happen without judicial oversight, and you might not even be notified. So you want to assume that any information transmitted without encryption is in the hands of one state agency or another, as many governments operate massive internet surveillance operations. Okay. 6, you want to consider what might happen if your equipment falls into the wrong hands. Again, this is in regards to war report, war correspondence, and so forth. You want to always assume that everything can be stolen and everything can crash. So even if you're covering a war, or you're an undercover journalist, or if you're a crime reporter, or if you're just covering an event and you don't want, you want to make sure that you have your equipment and it's backed up. You just want to always go in with the assumption when you're at any journalism event that anything can be stolen and everything can crash. So you want to go forward with always having a backup plan. Encrypt your hard drive if you have sensitive material on your computer, and make sure to track all copies of critical files, including those on thumb drives, camera, memory cards, or other portable media. You also want to consider deleting your digital tracks. So this will include your browsing history, digital cookies uploaded to your computer during online activity, and so forth. So you just want to make sure you're covering your tracks, and you are deleting any kind of saved thumbprints that could, just negatively affect your reporting. So digital security is just one part of operation security. It takes more than technology to keep secrets. This guide that the AP created is something that will no doubt be used by many different publications. The Moore Parker Portal will put them into use, all of these guidelines, so that we can have digital security. But again, anything above this level, this is just kind of an overview, will need to be you need to consult an expert at certain things. So we can kind of send you, hey, go to 1Password or download the Onion Router and, to stay anonymous. But if you need anything further, you definitely want to consult an expert. So this wraps up our entire 4-part series of social media guidelines. This is something the Moore Parker Reporter will follow, as well as obviously it was given to us by the trustworthy AP Style Book, the Associated Press. So if you are interested in the original source for this lecture, then get your own copy of the 2020-2022 version and look up social media guidelines in the middle of the book. Thank you for tuning in.